Riddler is killing Gotham's elite, the wealthiest, most influential and powerful people. He is a murderer on a mission, leaving clues and riddles for his pursuers, Detective Jim Gordon and the Batman. Together, they enter Gotham's underworld, encounter criminals, gangsters and the corrupt on their quest to bring peace and perhaps vengeance to the city. 2022's The Batman is in many ways one of the best Batman movies made thus far. It does a fantastic job at creating a living, breathing, atmospheric world and inhabiting it with well-realized, brilliantly portrayed characters. Mix in some cool action scenes and an intriguing murder mystery detective narrative inspired by Seven and Zodiac, and you have a well-made, enjoyable film. However, The Batman often falls short of greatness, instead settling for good for a couple of reasons. The first is that it's simply too long. For a 3-hour film, it's impressive to see that the pacing and momentum is consistent. The film never slows down or becomes boring. The issue is that the story being told does not need to be told across 3 hours. There are numerous sequences, scenes and moments that could have been trimmed, cut or condensed. Certain shots aren't as masterfully crafted as others, sometimes ending scenes on awkward angles. Many scenes end moments later than they should have or could have, and certain scenes do little to propel the narrative, and some scenes are drawn out for dramatic effect. These instances often work well, but they can be unnecessarily repetitive. After seeing the Batman slowly walk towards a location, intimidating and powerful in appearance, it does lose its purpose and impact when you see it for a second or a third time, albeit in a different location. In short, the Batman could have benefited from a rewrite and or a re-edit. This could have helped focus the story, enhance the tone and mood, and build the momentum a little quicker, resulting in a finely tuned, more enjoyable film, although perhaps a more traditional superhero film. The other issue with The Batman is that it feels less like a new Batman movie and more akin to just another Batman movie, albeit a good one. Many of the story beats, twists and characters are ripped straight from the pages of famed comic books. Without spoiling it too much, Catwoman and Carmine Falcone's story elements are very similar to their story elements in The Long Halloween and Batman Year One, key Batman comic books. There are inspirations taken from the video games and past films and TV shows too. This means that the Batman lacks much in the way of originality, at least for Batman fans. For wider, more mainstream viewing audiences, this likely won't be an issue at all. The depth of the story and characters as well as the twists and turns will probably be quite exciting and fun. It's also a little disappointing that after 2.5 hours of slower, more character-driven detective film noir style storytelling, the final act reverts to more traditional action-packed superhero film territory. It's all very well done and the transition is seamless, but it does mean that Batman is just another good superhero film at the end of the day, when it could have been something else, perhaps even more, as much of the marketing and promotion was suggesting. One of the highlights of the film is the way it looks and sounds. This is the most visually stunning, striking and compelling Batman movie to date. Every shot and moment has a stylized use of colour and atmosphere that gives the film a dark, ominous, moody tone. At the same time, the world created is filled with detail, with plenty of items, graffiti and art showcased around the environments, making it seem real, believable and lived in. The sound is equally as impressive. The score is limited, with frequent uses of the main Batman theme working well to build a hyped up epic mood and helping make Batman himself seem intimidating and frightening. This, along with the darker look and lighting, makes the titular character more frightening and scarier than any depiction of Batman thus far. Sounds of heavy footsteps approaching and of booming engines revving up help establish a heavy, loud element to Batman. This is not the ninja of the Nolan movies. This is a powerful, angry Batman, focused more on intimidation and fear than surprise and stealth. He's a Batman who wants to fight and to demolish an opponent, rather than swiftly and tactfully take down his foes. And the use of sound and lighting really helps enhance and establish this. While Robert Pattinson might just be one of the best Batman depictions, thanks to the outfit and the enhancement of sound and lighting, his Bruce Wayne fares quite a bit worse. Bruce Wayne is not a major character in the film. We only see him a handful of times and he says very little with even less emotion. This is a reclusive, tormented and challenged Bruce Wayne. one that has been shaped and twisted by his past and environment. Robert does a good job at portraying this, but the result is that the character is less likable, relatable and engaging than any prior Bruce Wayne. This is fine because it makes sense, but it does make rooting for him and engaging with him tough. In addition, Bruce's relationship with Alfred in this film is almost non-existent, especially in comparison to prior Batman movies. Here, Andy Serkis is barely given anything to say or do. We only get a bare basic idea of their relationship, with key scenes telling us what their relationship is rather than showing us. This is disappointing primarily because this relationship should be at the heart of the film, and in certain ways it is, but the emotional elements fall short because of the lack of screen time given to Alfred. Alfred is an important character to Bruce Wayne and Batman. He is the one character whom Bruce and Batman always needs and relies upon. It's odd that in this film Alfred is of little to no use or support, and as such is somewhat pointless. Pretty much every other side character fares far better though. Zoe Kravitz is now the very best depiction of Catwoman in film. She captures the character's fun side, with little jokes here and there, and a seductive element too. She is more than her looks though. Her character is given a compelling backstory and motivation, and she is given a chance to use her brains, cracking safes, and fighting with the best of them. It's a very impressive performance from Zoe Kravitz. Jeffrey Wright is great as Jim Gordon, who has a much more buddy cop style relationship with Batman than ever before. He is a man with authority and opinions who stands up for what he believes in, so long as it's smart to do so. Jeffrey has good chemistry with Robert, and together they form a likeable, uncanny duo at the centre of the film's primary story. The villain, meanwhile, is perhaps more twisted and haunted than Batman himself. Paul Dano is great as the Riddler, a serial killer with a goal. He is dark and scary, his outfit disguising his face and voice. In many ways, he's an anti-Batman, stalking his prey, sneaking in the shadows and then brutally killing them. There are scenes reminiscent of Saw, with riddles and puzzles for the heroes and victims to work through. Sadly, many of the riddles in the film lack difficulty or brains, meaning the Riddler is somewhat dumber than he should be, and the heroes who often struggle to answer these riddles are even dumber. It's a slight issue, one necessary for the mystery in the film to form, but still a minor disappointment nonetheless. Matt Reeves' approach to Batman is far more focused on character and world building than some of the prior Batman movies. His cinematography is brilliant, with the camera fixed on characters and their perspectives more than the environment and actions. This results in a film that encourages the viewer to feel as though they're part of the world, or as though the events depicted are real. Reeves' use of colour and lighting helps create a mood and tone that is almost a physical entity, it's that well established. Heavily inspired by film noir, the detective elements and the adherence of old-fashioned style filmmaking used in classic noir and detective movies are the key elements that set this Batman film apart from any of the prior ones. The Batman is a good film, at times even a great one, but a few key elements such as its runtime and reliance on adaptation over original ideas often gets in the way of it being something truly special or unique. Robert Pattinson might be one of the best Batmen so far, thanks to Matt Reeves' focus on his psychology and the use of cinematography and sound making the character seem scarier and far more intimidating than any prior depiction. In simple terms, this is a Batman movie halfway between the grounded, gritty depiction of Nolan's movies and the more stylized and gothic approach of Tim Burton's.